Well, today is another great day for another episode of Happier, Healthier Arkansas, co-hosted by myself, Dr. Chris Brown. And today I'm excited to invite Emily Feist with Reset Therapy, she's a neuromuscular massage therapist. So when I got to know her for myself, from my background working with the central nervous system as a brain-based chiropractor, getting to meet a massage therapist that also focuses on the nervous system through the musculature and the peripheral nervous system, I was like, man, this is going to be a hyper-compatible work that we do together in terms of being able to provide care for people. But the big thing with the concept of Happier, Healthier Arkansas, looking for people that are playing a role in terms of helping those in Arkansas become happier and healthier. And so that's what we got Emily Feist on today, in which case what's on the menu topic is approaches, mindsets towards movement, more so thinking outside the box type concepts versus the traditional, I'm going to go lift weights 5 times a week, or I'm going to go run my 2 miles every single day because I have to, and then sacrifice everything else. So before we start going in on that, Emily, real quick, what's one thing that you what's one thing you enjoy doing just as Emily, and then what's one thing people ought to know about this whole neuromuscular massage stuff that you're able to do and everything?
Yes. So, well, thank you, Dr. Chris, for letting me be on the podcast. It's really exciting, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know you. Mm-hmm. A thing that one of my favorite pastimes, especially like with my family, is to go explore Arkansas. Arkansas has so many pretty nooks and crannies, and our favorite so far has been exploring waterfalls.
Okay.
So that's on the agenda next Saturday.
Ooh, where to?
Nebo again.
Okay.
We'll go down there and kind of crawl down to the waterfalls. We can get underneath it and the little creeks along the way.
Which one's that?
That is Nebo.
Is that used to call it Nebo Waterfall?
State Park, Nebo.
Okay.
It's a good one. It's got like this little creek before you go all the way down, and then you can kind of sneak underneath the waterfall.
Dang, that sweet.
It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
So, yep.
What about one thing about the neuromuscular massage that you're able to do?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things about my style of therapy, the therapy itself is called neural reset therapy because it does work directly with the nervous system. The best part of it is that I can see how well muscles are functioning because throughout the entire massage, I am using just little movements to trigger the brain to tell muscles to relax. And if they aren't able to do that movement and a compensation pattern shows itself, in a sense, I can say, okay, that movement isn't working correctly. So then I go back and I think of all the muscles associated with that movement, get those to relax, and then essentially kind of reteach them how to work. Mm-hmm. So because I'm using the nervous system and the brain can tell the body what to do, and I don't have to force muscles to relax. I don't have to do any micro damage to the muscles. They just simply do relax because the brain tells them to. So they listen really well. Yeah. And once I can see if it's functioning, then I can say, okay, now we can move on to the next spot. Mm-hmm. So it really, really just exposes what isn't working.
Yeah. It's like the question of what's causing my muscles to be tight.
Yes.
And really it's reflexes.
Yes.
Which is what you're accessing through with the whole spinal reflex, extension reflex.
Yes.
Which is awesome. And when we're feeling good, when our muscles are functioning good, then we can move good.
Yes.
Which is the main theme of what we're going in on today. And so in terms of that, movement, people are typically categorizing that as exercise, just going in on lifting weights or going in on running or walking. What's the purpose, what's the benefits in your head of why humans need to move?
Yeah, well, our entire bodies are made to move. And with movement, it helps other things. So just the classic ones are joints and ligaments. They don't have the same nutrient supply because they don't have that strong blood supply like muscles do. Mm-hmm. So they solely rely on movement to kind of water that area.
Yep.
Because nothing's pumping nutrients to that. So if that area stops moving, well, the nutrients stop, and then it's harder to move, and then it hurts to move, and then you get scared to move, and then it just gets this cycle going down. But what I tell my clients is that just one little thing can make it get worse, but one little thing can make it better. And that's where I include the movement. What can you do to help nourish that area? Because a lot of people, especially my clients who are about to retire, I tell them, what are you going to do? And if they're like, I'm going to sit down on my recliner and I'm going to sit and see the world through the TV, I'm like, no, please don't. That is terrible. Because their health will decline so much faster because they're not including any kind of movement throughout the day. So then all their muscles aren't getting nutrients, their joints aren't getting nutrients, their lymphatic system isn't moving. It's just a much faster decline versus people who include movement. And again, you mentioned not just exercise. That's a big one because some people are like, look, I exercised for hour today. I'm good. I can go sit on the couch and just relax the rest of the day. But again, your body needs that nutrients. It's like it wants that. It wants your body to move. Movement creates movement. So you need to keep moving unless your plan is to get stuck in bed. If your plan is to get stuck in bed, that's sure way, go for it. But if you want to enjoy life, you want to go out and explore Arkansas or visit the grandkids or, start that sport that you've always wanted to try, you really, really need to move throughout the day, not just a tailored workout. And I'm not against exercise workouts. Like they're great. They have a purpose. But if I had to choose between an exercise regimen for 1 hour a day and then sit versus moving throughout the day in multiple different ways, I'm going to choose moving all the different ways because that's going to get your whole body, again, nourishing and lubricating those joints. And it's just, you're going to be happier for it.
Totally, yeah. So in terms of, there's two things that came up. I do like the idea. I do want to touch on the concept of moving throughout the day, what that means in your eyes.
Yes.
But also going in on the joints and how the joints, one thing that people don't have a great piece of awareness of is that these joints in our body, whether it's in our shoulders or our hips or even also actually all the discs in between our vertebra and our spine, they don't receive blood flow.
Yes.
They don't actually have the arteries or the capillaries, which are the river beds for blood to flow through. Blood is the way that the food that we eat gets delivered to the right areas in order to maintain the actual health and maintenance of our tissues.
And oxygen.
Oxygen is bringing in nutrients, bringing in vitamins, bringing in minerals, clearing out waste products.
Yep.
And so for these areas that do not have blood flow to it, the way to get those nutrients and those minerals and those vitamins and also clear out the waste is through movement. It's in the spine, it's called imbibition, which that's how our discs are able to maintain health, is through kind of like weight loading, weight bearing exercises such as walking, great way to get that going. But especially in other joints, other areas, you have to actually move these individual specific regions in order to get the nutrients to that.
Yes.
Can't just rely on our heartbeat to do that for us and everything.
Yes.
And that plays a role with lymphatics too. Lymphatics is that extra kind of fluid flow that's able to clear out a lot of our waste products, byproducts that are accumulating in our cells. So that being said, you had mentioned moving during the day versus just 1 hour of exercise and calling it good for the day. So what are some things that maybe you do or things, what's the whole mindset behind moving throughout the day? What do you mean by that?
Yes. So what I like to tell people is if you want to dig deep into your movement patterns, write down the movements that you do habitually and then go outside of that. So for example, most people go from laying down to maybe using the bathroom and then getting in the car, driving to work, and then they sit. So there's a lot of motion. You move a lot because you're moving, you're walking. but have you used your arms over your head? Now, some ladies are like, yeah, I do my hair, and look, I got my arms over my head. Be like, great, that's one plane of movement. So we have 3 planes of movement. We've got the front and the back, side to side, and then also upper and lower. So if the more combinations of those we can, the more movement we have. So if let's say you put out your clothes the night before, and you put them, let's say you lay them on a chair or your bed and have it all laid out. That's a natural movement for you. But one day you could put those clothes in a clean spot on the floor. Now you're bending deeper. So before you just had that hip bend to get your clothes, now you've got a deeper bend. You could add a twist. All those things. For what I personally like to do, I have a beam in my kitchen where I like to hang on. I don't drop weight, but I do, I let my hands, grip it, and then I just kind of bring my weight down. It's just the body load. And when we talk about loads, it is including your weight, but it's how you distribute distribute, thank you, your weight. So going back to the hanging one, if I all of a sudden lean more to the left, that's going to distribute more weight on that side, easing up on the right. And if I go to the opposite, now I've got one movement with 3 different loads. So I like to hang. And then a fun exercise, and the exercise is kind of a general term, but walk into a room that you haven't done before. So naturally, we usually just walk with our hands down by our sides, maybe up if we're carrying something. But my kids are great inspiration. They walk into a room like 14 different ways. You got like the arms crazy high up in the air and dangling. You can, pretend that you're walking like a lion. Like there's so many different ways. Tentacles is a great one. Yeah. And maybe you're a happy octopus. One day you're a crazy octopus. So make it fun. Honestly, kids, they are such an inspiration on how many different ways we can move that we just forget. And it's just trying to remember to include these movements. I have an online community where I do a monthly challenge for a week, and I give them ideas, and I sent it to my mom, and I said, hey, what do you think about these ideas? And she's like, well, they're all really simple. And I'm like, but do you do them? And she goes, no, I don't do any. And I said, exactly. This is what we're trying to do is throughout the day, try to include this one random movement it triggers, again, different muscles, gives them nutrients, gives that joint a different way to move, again, nutrients. And the more your body is able to adapt to different situations, the longer your longevity. A lot of prevention there.
It's also stimulating a bunch of pathways creating in the brain. So the brain's starting to get activated, like, whoa, I'm moving like this. This is different. Yeah, no, that's sweet. That's like my approach towards movement this year a lot, but also started last year, was how can I apply this towards what I do during the day? So, for example, like moving this table from there to here, how can I practice that at home with weight so that way when I have to do it in the real world, it's easy? Same concept for going to sit on a chair. When we go to sit, are we just collapsing and falling down? Or do we have body control doing it? Like one concept I like doing, like the overhead thing. We take being able to move our hands overhead for granted completely until you actually experience not being able to move your arm overhead, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize how much use this is. So then why don't we practice actually moving something above our head? It's like one thing I do sometimes for my shoulders with dumbbells is I'll have both extended and then I'll just have one go down. So I'm actually getting stability and stamina holding something up here.
Yes, you do.
Another concept is when we walk, we do a lot of things in a lunge position, where our like split stance. So one foot is in front of the other, then we switch. Same thing, walking, running. If we have to hike uphill, the big thing is going downhill, stepping off a curb, going downstairs, going down a mountain if we hiked it. So one way that I practice that is I'll just hold a dumbbell in front of me, and I'll take one leg off the ground, and then I'll try to, my legs elevated, and I'll essentially just go into like a one leg, like eighth of a squat.
Okay.
But just get some knee bending in there, and
Yep.
then let my off leg hit the ground and then come back up. And I found a big benefit just hiking Pinnacle, just being able to just step and have my body controlled, where my knee is way over my toe, but I'm not collapsing. Everything is still engaged, and I'm just going straight down, even though I'm having to reach really far with that leg, trying to go down the rocks and everything.
That's a great example for a load.
Yeah.
How you took your body and you positioned it in a different way. I mean, you added a weight, but just to do that different way of load, now your muscles all have to work together. All of your joints have to work together. Your spine has to get stronger.
Yeah.
Everything, it's just that little ripple effect of all getting better.
Yeah, totally. So in regards to approaches for movement, what are some consistent things that you encourage your clients to do that they can do at home to help make them move better for their longevity?
Yes. So a lot of my clients, not all, but a good chunk of my clients come in because they are in pain. And because of that pain pattern, they do get nervous about moving certain ways. So once we figure out their pain pattern, I say, okay, here's a movement that you haven't done. Can you do it? And they're like, holy cow, yeah, I haven't done that in years. I had that lady yesterday who almost brought her to tears because she's like, I haven't done that forever. And
Done
like,
what?
She couldn't do a squat. So after her session, she tried, and then she did it, and then she's like, some people don't believe it the first time because they've been guarded so well. So then she did it a second time, and she's like, holy cow. And she started getting teary-eyed, which is just like, that's super exciting. You know, that's what you want to show. And so her movement would just be, okay, how can we encourage these kind of movement patterns to keep that going? But a good chunk of my clients are even more cautious with other movements. So an easy one, I like easy because you're more apt to do them.
Easy, simple,
keep it simple.
reproducible.
How can we incorporate this with ease? My favorite is a rocking chair.
Yep.
Because it's comfortable, and I'm talking more like old school chairs that don't have those cushiony supports, but you can sit down in them. They're still comfortable, and I like them. One, they do move. They're not stuck in a chair, but when you sit in a rocking chair, it's very easy, natural to start rocking.
Yep.
Now, with that movement, you're moving your feet. That makes sense, right? But because you're moving your feet, now you're pumping your calf muscle. Your calf muscle is your lower leg. That is a second heart to the body. That helps your circulation, pumps all that blood up easier. Okay, so now we got more blood movement. And also, we're, again, moving the leg, and that helps pump your lymph nodes, your lymphatic system, to help all the junk get out. And just by rocking, because let me back up a second. Lymph nodes can't move without muscles.
I was going to say, what's the purpose of the lymphatic system first?
Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Lymph nodes do not have a pump. Like your circulatory system has a pump, it has a heart.
Right.
Your lymph nodes move and clear themselves out with movement. It needs that compression from muscles, the relaxing and contraction. So when we're in a rocking chair, your posture can get better. Your feet placement, often people pretend that these are your feet, they point forward. That's the easiest way to rock. And that encourages proper gait, which is your walking pattern.
Yep.
So now you're enforcing a positive walking pattern, getting your circulatory system. Those muscles are also pumping up and helping those lymph nodes drain out. So all of that is by simply rocking.
Yeah, totally.
Easy, comfortable. It's soothing to the nervous system, just having a nice and big perk. I have mine outside on our porch, so you get some fresh air, maybe get some sunlight. It's a win for me.
Totally. So with the leg pumping, we're rocking in a chair, we're moving our legs, and it's pumping our lymphatics. You mentioned the word drain.
Yes.
What is draining out of those lymph nodes? What are they accumulating? What is movement draining?
Yes. So your lymph nodes, they're just like your garbage disposal for your body.
Okay.
So they help get rid of any of that junk. So people feel like lymph nodes like on their neck, kind of behind their ear a lot when they're sick. And that's just saying your lymph nodes are trying to fight for you and they're trying to get that out of your body. So the lymph nodes are interesting because they don't have a medication that I'm aware of that really helps lymph nodes clear out. You can get water, which helps. Water is essential for everything. But let me back up again. So when we stop moving, the lymph nodes get stagnant because they're not able to pump out because there's no muscle movement. And then what people do, they start getting sick because all that junk is staying in their system. And then they get a little poofier and then they're like, I feel gross now. I don't want to move. And it's just that cycle of ugh, So just
it's
incorporate it. That's all. That's a big one. And there's things that you can do to help your lymph system. Again, the rocking chair is one of my favorites. Rebounding, which is just a little mini trampoline, also a favorite of mine. Those two I do daily.
Nice.
Because
are you jumping like a pogo jump?
No, it's just like a little mini trampoline. It's just a mini trampoline. And for those who aren't comfortable, you can get rails for one or two sides so that they can get their stability. Because we want to move with confidence.
Yes.
And, if there's steps that we need to do before getting on there, we can do that. But even if you just stand there and just kind of like bob at the beginning, get those muscles used to that load. And then eventually you're going to start jumping like a trampoline. And then you can have a workout and all that. But that helps lymph nodes like immensely.
Totally. There's one thing that popped in my head when you were saying that, which that's one of the benefits that a lot of people have gotten out of being under my care is that they're able to move without having something in the back of their head in regards to a restriction to the movement. For example, I had this woman start up last week where her main thing was she wasn't able to pick up her toddler, her 20-month-old, because of pretty intense rib pain. And so now after starting care with me, she's able to pick up her toddler without thinking, oh, I have to squat down in this very careful, safe way. It's not even in her head, so she's just able to just pick up her toddler and just move and groove. And when we have that thought in the back of our head that's worried about moving a certain way that might cause a flare-up or re-aggravate something, it's draining. It's super mentally draining, emotionally draining. I've had that from personal experience, being able to take care of people. I'm sure almost everyone has had that happen, which is pretty intense. As we kind of near the end of this, my watch went off. So that means people are probably finishing up their drive to work and everything. Hopefully out of this so far, we've kind of gotten the concept that moving isn't necessarily just about exercise.
Correct.
It's about being consistent during the day. And being creative and free flow and having fun with it and playing. You kind of mentioned two unique things about with the rocking chair and the pogo, which is really cool.
The rebounding, like a mini trampoline,
Right. And so with your approach, your mindset is get flow in your body throughout the day. What are ways to, besides walking in a door and doing something different every single time, what are other little easy hacks where people can continue to move consistently during the day, knowing how important now it is for their whole body, their whole physiology, and health and longevity as a whole? What are some easy little mindset tweaks to promote the movement during the day?
So again, a lot of people just get stuck into their routine. And so sometimes for people, for example, let's say they work at an office, they go and sit at their office and then they get busy and focused. And some people the best thing is, okay, you have to work for a bit, now get up and move. That's why they say go ahead and use the bathroom every, hour. Water will help that. Drink your water during your work time, and that will have a natural cause and effect to go move. Now, that's one way, is just to incorporate that movement. You also can just again, you have to take that focus of what can I do today that I hadn't done yesterday. So that's where it's gonna vary for every person. So a person who works in construction is gonna look very different than a person who's in an office, because a construction worker is using their body, but again, they do the same motions typically. So they might need to get a little more flexible with like side to side motions versus leaning forward and lifting. So it's really just thinking over your head, what are all the things that I do? Is there a pattern of all of them? For the typical person, they sit, they stand, and walk the most.
Very linear.
Very much
Very
so.
just forward, back, hip hinge stuff.
Yes. And they don't wiggle. If you need to include a little wiggling, there's a lot of fun ways to do that. But even just think of, I'll steal one of your thoughts. What does your 7-year-old self like to do?
Yep.
So think about when you were a little kid, what were your favorite things? So for you, like you talk about, going exploring the sunsets, that's great. So you sit in a chair, that's perfect, but you usually hike, so that's a good way to do that movement. So for another person, you'd be like, oh, I used to like to paint. Okay, great. What are all the different types of mediums that you can paint with? You can incorporate, I like nature, so that's an easy default to me. So if you want to paint with acorns, well, now you got to go find the acorns. So now you got to go search, look for them, bend over. Are they there's just different ways of, what do I like to do? What did my younger self like to do? And how can we incorporate that? Because that's where you're going to get that most movement. Yeah. I can tell you what I like to do. You can tell me what you like to do.
Right.
But to individualize it, what did your 7-year self? So.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, making it where it's more of a game playing versus just something unconscious. Challenging different planes of motion with your body, really exploring the movement that your body is capable of, and changing it up to where you're not just moving the same way all the time.
Yes.
That's a really excellent way of having your body feel the way that you anticipate it feeling versus fighting it. You want your body, you want you and your body to be on the same team, teammates with it.
Work together.
Totally. Yeah. So I think that's a great way to kind of wrap it up. Being able to move during the day, exploring ways to where you and your body are on the same team, going for the same goal, which is to obviously live a longer, healthier, and happier life.
Absolutely.
Which is the main concept of this podcast itself. And so there's a lot more to go in on movement. Won't be the last time, but that's definitely an excellent foundational piece to just move throughout the day. Don't do the same thing. Don't be stagnant. Explore, play, do what your little kid self like to do, and think outside the box with that movement. So.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. This has been wonderful.
Well, thank you.
It's a good time hanging out with you and everything and talking shop. And hope you guys enjoy this episode of Happier, Healthier Arkansas.